Hi, my name is Lawrence Knott, and this podcast is about Michael Johnson's book, Slaying the Dragon, and how he used small steps to achieve greater feats.
10 years ago, I ran the same distance in 21 seconds. Good for a high school athlete, but well short of world class.
As you can see, he still had a long way to go to reach his ultimate goals. In his childhood, he had strict and respectful parents who wanted the best for their 5 sons and Michael, all of which went on to have very commendable jobs and careers. I will now read a passage from chapter 1 from Slaying the Dragon, which I feel summarises the importance of a strong background and how it has made Michael Johnson the athlete that he is today. Every time I burst into the house with some new dream or ambition, I want to be an architect, my father would be waiting in the living room to ask me one simple question: how do you plan to do that? And it wasn't a rhetorical question. I was expected to list every step I planned to take, to research the amount of money I would earn, and understand the kind of work required. Now I have a voice inside my head that asks me the same thing before I begin. Find that voice inside yourself. This quote talks about how Michael Johnson applies goal setting to every aspect of his life. He learnt it at a young age, and it has stuck with him. This is why he is such a formidable athlete.
This year, of course, my goal was to win Olympic gold medals in the 200 meters and the 400 meters, so I wrote that down. But to get that far, I had to convince the Olympic Committee to change the schedule so the heats for both races weren't held on the same days. I wrote that down as well. And to get that far, I had to qualify for both in the Olympic trials. But first, I had to qualify for both events at the Olympic trials. And before that, I had to be at peak sprinting performance and have increased stamina. And to get that far, I had to adjust my training schedule, sharpening it to improve my training to be able to run 2 very different races. And to do that, it goes on and on. The point is that to improve incrementally, you must plan incrementally. And the best way to do that is to think it all through, to make sure you've missed nothing, is to write it down. A written goal is a contract with yourself and a constant reminder of all you still have to do.
Self-discipline helps you monitor your progress to make sure that these smaller goals are being achieved. Careful and consistent monitoring contributes to building self-confidence and to maintain a healthy pressure on yourself.
To achieve a clarity of focus and a sense of purpose, to stick to your plan, to deal with pressure, thrive on it and make it your own, to carve away the distractions that slow us all down, and perhaps most importantly, how to keep going after you lose the biggest race of your life. Because you will.
Even when Michael Johnson is successful, he still analyses his performance to try and identify faults or ways to make him even faster. He does this naturally, and this is what makes him a world-class athlete. This shows the amount of devotion and intrinsic motivation Michael Johnson has had to commit to reach his ultimate goal of becoming the greatest sprinter over 2 distances the world has ever known.
There's a saying among some athletes that after you've stared long enough into the dragon's eyes, there is nothing left to do but slay the dragon. For each of us, that dragon is the thing closest to the center of our lives. It is our core, our ambition, and our joy. For me, it is the perfect race. I had just run 23 miles per hour, like a car through the suburbs, faster than any human being has ever been tracked. I had beaten the best runners in the world in 2 very different races, in the face of towering pressure, and yet there was that stumble and a million questions that it posed as I prepared to make this tape. How much faster could I have gone without the stumble? Is it possible that we can always go further and higher? Can I always go faster?
To conclude, Michael Johnson had to work for what he achieved. The way he did this was to break down his ultimate goal into manageable and achievable stepping stones, which would lead him to greatness.
I saw the clock. 19 seconds and 32 hundredths. I had beaten my own world record by nearly 1/3 of a second, something like a long weekend in sprinter time, where tenths of a second separate good seasons from bad ones. 19.32. My arms flew open in disbelief, and everything dissolved in a rush of camera flashes and congratulations.